You're listening to the Daily Sales Tips podcast, and I'm your host, Scott Ingram. Today's tip comes from Darren Mitchell. Darren is the host of the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. He's committed to developing exceptional sales leaders and teams who drive consistent, sustainable, and replicable results. He mentors and coaches sales leaders one-on-one and facilitates engaging and interactive workshops to unleash the potential of sales leaders and their teams. Here he is.
In today's daily sales tip, let's talk about the most important conversation you are ever going to have, whether you're a salesperson or in fact, whether you are a sales leader. Now, you may be sitting there thinking, well, I've got some really important conversations coming up because I've got a pitch to do, I've got a presentation to do, I've got a negotiation to do, I've got to go and see that prospective customer. So those are very, very important conversations. And yes, they are, because if you don't have those conversations with those customers, chances are you will not get those deals over the line. But having been in sales for more than 20 years and having run sales teams for more than 10 years, I can tell you with experience, with wisdom, and with a high degree of certainty that in fact the most important conversation you're ever going to have is in fact the conversation that you have with yourself. Now just look at all the people around you and just think about how important is the conversation that they're having. I'm staggered at the number of salespeople who believe, first of all, that they can't do something. Now, even though from the outside they might look as if they're being successful and they might look as if they're having great conversations with others, often internally the conversation they're having with themselves is one of, I cannot do this. And we have to be really, really conscious of this because I see it all the time. Salespeople let themselves down through the conversations they're having with themselves, but also sales leaders letting themselves and their teams down by having the conversation which is not necessarily geared around being positive, being optimistic, and being about looking at the future. They're looking more about what can't be done and all the problems that are sitting in front of them. And the thinking we have as an individual, as a person, as a salesperson, and certainly as a sales leader is so powerful. And as James Allen wrote, as a man thinketh, so is he. So the question to ask today is, are you aware of your thinking? Are you aware of the conversation you are having? And is that conversation helping you or is it hindering you? But also think about this. The conversation you're having with yourself will also play out in the conversations that you have with your team. So if you're seeing your team not necessarily performing at the level that you know they're capable of, the first thing to think about is what is the conversation that I'm having with myself and what example am I setting? How can you help your team? Well, you can start by actually having proper conversations and better conversations, more optimistic conversations, and being really conscious of the conversations that you're having with yourself. Because here's the thing, no matter where we go, there we are. So we are the barometer of our sales team and we are the barometer often of the organization that we represent. So as salespeople and certainly as sales leaders, we have to be really conscious of the most important conversation that we have, and that is the conversation with ourselves. And as Viktor Frankl, this Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, used to say, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, and that is the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So in today's daily sales tip, be really conscious of the conversations that you're having with yourself and make sure that those conversations are uplifting, those conversations are a glass half full, and those conversations are looking at how do I get better and how do I help the people around me get better. You do that and some amazing things are going to happen.
For links to connect with Darren on LinkedIn and to his website, podcast, and more, just click over to DailySales.Tips/1081. Once you've done that, be sure to come back tomorrow for another great sales tip. Thanks for listening.